Hi, friends. It feels like there's a lot more of you than there normally is. What's going on? Is it just, I've just been having, okay,
We're getting closer.
okay.
That's reminiscing last week. That's true.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
It's good to see you back.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good to see y'all in person.
yeah. I'm glad we got a full house. Hannah's online. Awesome. You're welcome. Throat chakra night, huh? Yeah. Are you ready for it? I'm not ready for it. Oh, talk about problem children. Okay. Well, so with the check-in, let's talk about the heart chakra. And how are you feeling about like this idea of theming with the homework? Have you practiced it at all? A little bit? You thought about it. Okay, you know what? Thinking about it is a start. Good. Oh, it's gonna be that kind of night. Okay. Okay, all right. That's okay. I can use the levity. I've been like, it's been a weird week, so I can use the levity. All right, well, who has thought about it enough to go first? Yeah, all right, Ashlyn. Hannah, can you hear okay, or do you want to pass, should we pass the computer?
I can hear it. I can see too. Hi guys.
This week, I was dog sitting, so I did the luminary thing. The dog did not ask about it or care when I told him, but I shared my feelings anyway, because sometimes in this world, even though your pet does not seem to care, really deep down, they do care, but they don't understand human emotions, so you can't overburden them with your emotions, because they only know walk and treat and lunch and dinner. So share your feelings with your pets if you feel like maybe the people in your lives have a lot going on and you don't want to, because we all have emotional space and we don't always have emotional space for everybody else's problems. So if you feel like a lot of friends in my life do not have emotional space for my problems right now, guess who does? Your dog or your cat or your fish or your frogs or your turtle or your plants. Cause they just know I love you. And they will forget everything you say immediately, so they can't embarrass you either. Which is very nice. Also, if you want to work a little bit on your heart chakra a little bit more, you can make them a meal and they will eat it because they don't care that you are chicken. They're just happy that they got chicken from the stove. And they appreciate it, and it's also feels a little fulfilling to be like, here, doggy, I grilled you a piece of chicken. You do not know the difference between grilled chicken or boiled chicken or charred chicken or oven cooked chicken, but you are so happy, and seeing them be so happy fills you with happiness. And maybe that's just what you need, is for somebody to eat your cooking and just be so happy about it.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That
Good one.
good.
Yeah. I like that. Mhm.
I work with dogs a lot, so I talk to a lot of pets.
I understand. Good job. All right, where are you sending it?
Oh.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I wasn't here last week and I didn't watch the video,
Okay.
but I read through the homework, so I didn't know what the luminary was. But I did. My sister lives in Korea and my other sister is in Japan, and I sent some gifts to them so they could make me off of them. And left them some video messages. So that was my interpretation of that.
Nice. Good job. Hi.
Hi, Hannah. I volunteer, like, I mean, 3 months, well, I guess 4 months ago before I got here, I would volunteer, for my job, you know, with, Christmas and Elf Louise and, Thanksgiving, turkey dinners and stuff. And so when I moved here, I registered at Fake Gay Groups. And so I volunteered at Beer Fest. And with that, we had walked to King Supers to go pick up donations of food for Mercy's Gate here in town. And so what I did was, I decided to sign up and volunteer there also. And so I helped them with the food pantry, helping, just seeing the people themselves, being so appreciative of just giving them a piece of bread or, loaf of bread or whatever. And they also help with utilities, and they'll give them money vouchers. So that way we don't have their electricity turned off or anything like that. So it's a really good organization, but it fills your heart, just to help people and how, like I said, how appreciative they are. So, yeah, and I continue to do that too. So,
Yeah, volunteering is huge. Yeah.
It's wonderful. It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice. I'm glad you found places you can do that.
yes. And it's right down the street, by the way. Yeah.
I am honestly having a hard time. Wrapping my head around the chakras and how, like, self-assessment, I've always had a hard time with that. Because basically I look at the heart chakra and I'm like, well, yeah, I've always just been a selfish person. I've never really take care of anybody else, or like, I've gotten better through the years, but I feel like I just fall short in all of these aspects. And so I'm kind of struggling with that, and then also struggling with how to turn that into theming for class, just in general. Like I can't make that connection in my head. I also didn't really understand what the luminary thing was. I feel like it was just kind of glazed over at the end of class, right? Like we didn't really go into what that was. I mean, I did think about my feelings and experiences with the heart chakra and where I'm at right now. I don't really want to share that though. Yeah, so just having a hard time wrapping my head around all this stuff. It seems very like esoteric to me, and then turning it into something that I can something like digestible and applicable in yoga practice, in teacher training and class and stuff.
Yeah, and the theming part of it, the disconnect there has a lot to do with the way that you feel with the chakras in general, right? And your connection there. And that's totally fine. That like, I don't want you to feel like that you're not getting it or you're missing something with it, right? Because it's all these different pieces work for different people at different times, right? And so don't worry about it like not kind of settling with you just yet. I would challenge you a little bit though, in that just the way that you're thinking, and what one thing that you said about like being selfish and not really having to take care of other people. Aren't you a massage therapist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's professional. I'm talking about like in my personal life.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like I said, I've gotten better
Yeah.
in some of these things with age, but by nature, I'm not an outgoing, compassionate, empathetic person. I've had to work on that a lot.
Yeah.
I did kind of start to bridge the gap a little bit because I did the Vayu's Sadhana, and I did the little self-assessment, and in that, my practice was the Prana Vayu. And I saw the connection there between like breath work, how breath work and the poses could come together for a theme of like balancing, right? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm seeing that, but for some reason, Like, I don't understand how grief is an imbalance of the heart chakra, like some of these things, I just don't get it.
Yeah, that's valid. So grief isn't necessarily an imbalance. Can I bird walk, and are you all okay with like doing a little kind of like recheck with the heart chakra? One of the things, and hopefully this will help you like understand that aspect of it a little bit more, is that when we look at the second chakra, right, it's very like binary. It's I like this, I don't like that, right? And there's no like in between. It's this or that, this or that. When we move up into the heart chakra, it's both things can be true, right? The way that one of my teachers explained it is the heart has this capacity to hold two emotions that seem to contradict each other, with a sense of equanimity, right? Where it's not like with the second chakra where we're pushing away the thing that we don't like and we're wanting more of the thing that we do like. It's more so like when we're balanced in the heart, we can understand that grief and joy can coexist in the same space. Where it becomes an imbalance is when we hold that grief and we can't move out of that, right? Or we are so like fakely full of joy that we can't see like this sense of like toxic positivity almost, right? Where it's like everything is wonderful and I don't care what you say. Like I've never experienced a bad thing in my life that I can't turn into a positive experience. Like that's an imbalance too, right? Understanding that these two things can coexist in a space and each is valid and each is necessary, right? We have to be able to feel these things in order to transcend them, transcend suffering, right? And so that's really what that's talking about when we talk about imbalances there. It's not so much that grief itself is an imbalance, because grief is part of being human, right? You're going to grieve. But it's becomes that imbalance when you can't move yourself out of that, right? And turns into like shame and things like that. You know what I mean? Does that help any? Does that help any of you? I don't know what all was talked about, but yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't, if it's not connecting, it's not connecting, and that's valid. It's all good. You don't have to theme on the chakras. I rarely theme on the chakras, like unless it's chakrathon, then I do my job. Kidding. Sometimes I'm like, oh, we're doing that? Okay. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Do we want to zig or zag? Yeah, please do.
Sure.
Yeah.
It'll be quick for me because I wasn't here last week. But first of all, that was beautiful. Thank you for further defining that. And you did make us cookies. A couple of weeks ago. And they were delicious. And I hope you do give yourself more credit than maybe what you are. But heart chakra, I read it. And I feel pretty balanced here. One of the things that I really, I wrote down. Oh, and also I didn't give much this week. I was on the receiving end of a lot of people's heart chakras. So I'm grateful for that. I was just super needy and in bed a lot, and I cried. Felt sorry for myself a lot. But my struggle, because I feel again pretty strong in this space, but my struggle is the easy to forgive. And I do find that it's very easy for me to forgive when I know it's not a true trespass, like someone, like it was unintentional or just maybe unknown territory from another person. But if I feel like it was really intentional or or what's where we're down. I'm sorry, but you're following me, like if it was out of spite or whatever, I can't forgive, that's very, very difficult for me. And I feel like that's a block to my ultimate nirvana, and I don't know if I'm supposed to use that word, but I do feel like, and there are times when I'm like, that is challenging my thought, but, or my enlightenment. But that's really my only true, I mean, I know I ebb and flow in some of the other categories like you have mentioned, but that's the big one.
For me, similar to what Karen was saying, I felt like I was on the receiving end of these things a lot over the last week. I think right now, I don't think I'm super imbalanced, but I'm definitely not balanced. I've kind of like briefly mentioned, like, I'm going through some weird times in my marriage, so like, ordinarily, I'm extremely like service providing, compassionate, like I am very connected with my heart chakra, but like very recently I've been feeling like that's being taken advantage of. So this week, so something that I do at home often is I'll make like large amounts of food for meals so that I don't have to cook every day, but so that my husband has food to take to work. But except for this instance, I don't typically eat it, like I'm fully making it for my spouse and for my kid. And this last week has been especially hard because I've been having an unhealthy relationship with food. But yesterday I spent my entire day like pushing past myself to do that for them. Like I'm talking gloves and mask because like even just the smell was bothering me of making food. Because not only do I not want to do it because I wasn't feeling well, but it was also chicken and I don't eat chicken. So that was especially disgusting to me, but revolting in fact. But I did it for them because I love them. And it was kind of a practice of like, even though I literally hate doing this, like very much, that I knew that they would appreciate it. So I made like all of this chicken and I had to take it because it just made me so ill. But today my husband took leftovers to work and he was like, everyone thought it smelled good or whatever. And it was really like affirming. I feel like I'm rambling right this minute. But yeah, so and then something that really touched me, Ashlyn brought me juices and protein drinks to our last class because she knew that I was struggling with food and it really touched me. So I felt really cared for and that just meant a lot to me. So you did more than just your dog stuff. So that meant a lot to me. So between the two of those things, I felt like I did some of the homework, but I definitely was receiving a lot more, which meant a lot. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling.
You're good. You're good. It's all good. Hello.
So this past week, I've been trying to like find little things I could do for other people. And no, I say heart chakra was like something that's stuck, like it doesn't really grow much. It's either blocked or not blocked. I don't know, wherever it's been like that for a while. Kind of person that feels like grudges have a purpose. They're a good mnemonic. They're there for a reason. So I've been trying to think of people that I don't get along with or don't like over the past week that I still have to interact with and try to do nice things for them. So that's where I'm going with this. And so there's a coworker at work that we just butt heads a lot. We don't get along very well. And so I tried to give him like a shout out, some kudos during a meeting. As well as like a whole bunch of other coworkers, just, from a bunch of other people. One of my neighbors She's below me, she complains when I walk. Like whenever, if I'm doing the dishes, she can hear it, so she'll start banging on the walls and so.
Wow.
Try being like very considerate, like after a certain hour, close my bedroom door so the cats can't get in there. Just being more considerate, brought in food, candy for people at work, into the office and just like little things. Don't get much back from it. You know, you don't get like a whole thank yous and all that stuff, but I think the fact that you're making effort does a lot, especially with people that like, you know, hold grudge against or don't get along with it, kind of helps me mend that and just like forget the negative qualities I see in that person. Just kind of cool. But been doing that most of the past week. Did not set a luminary. So I'll say anything on fire in front of my apartment.
Smart.
I have the desire to.
Yeah, that's the doing things for people that you don't necessarily get along with. That's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah. We have a whole meditation on that one, so don't you worry. Thank you.
So I have a problem with homework. So I decided last week that I was gonna do my homework as soon as I got home.
Okay.
So, so I'm gonna go with my, I have a lot to talk about. So my intention is, maybe you set, you focus. What just happened?
It's Janine, she was excited.
Maybe you, focus on giving yourself grace. Accept yourself where you are tonight and challenge yourself to be free. And live and practice in that space. Above all else, listen to your heart and body and make adjustments as needed. I have an issue, Hannah and I've talked about this many times. I do not like drivers in the state. And so when I left here, I was like, I'm gonna let people in and I'm gonna be nice and I'm not gonna cuss them out. My daughters are always telling me I'm gonna get shot if I don't really look at them when I'm yelling at them when I'm driving down the road. I look ahead and I pretend like I'm singing, but it's not very nice. So I pulled out of here and immediately I was just like cussing. And then I was like, get it together. And so I did, and then I was like, on the way home, I was like, maybe there's an emergency, come on in. And I just kept like letting people come in and I was trying to like be a little bit more giving. So I did that. I have a friend that has, she has a business, she has Bernie Doodles. And she has 18 puppies right now, so I volunteered to go over and help her with these puppies that are just like running all over the place and just biting and chewing and pooping and peeing on everything. So I went over and helped her for an hour, like socializing with the dogs and stuff and just letting them just run around crazy. So that was fun. And I also got to take my grandkids with me who just love puppies, like who doesn't love a puppy, but it was just fun to see them all interacting and stuff. So so it was kind of volunteering, but kind of not, but I considered it volunteering. And I sent a video, and I don't know if anybody got it, but I sent a video that I thought was super funny because of one of the other videos that we watched and talking to Amy over the weekend, I think, in class. It was a video of this grumpy old man that was walking down the street, and he was just like, you know, there's a grocery cart that's like running away from this woman and he just lets it pass and all these things are happening and he's just being not bothered by anything and he's not helping anyone. And then he's standing at a stoplight and this old woman comes up and grabs his arm and he's like, he looks at her and he's kind of like, oh shit, what am I gonna do with this? Like she's wants his help to cross the street. Have you seen the video?
No.
And she's very old and very slow, and he, is trying to help her get across the street. And there's a car that's coming like super fast and gonna kill them both, and he's like, "Stop," when he stops the car. And then he kind of like turns around, and then it ends up, he sees somebody that's kind of like him, what he used to be. And he tries to bring that person along and show them how to like be compassionate and help other people and stuff, so he kind of like gave back. But it took almost being killed by a car with an old woman, so it was just one of those things. I just thought it was kind of cute and I sent it this morning, but shared it with everyone. I'll stop there. Yes.
Okay. Lots of artwork. Good job.
All right, this week I set an insect free while chilling in a tree. And, it was this tiny leaf green guy, it was tiny. In the past, I just blow a little insect that gets on me, just real quick, just and move on with my day. But thinking about it, and I'm hanging out in this tree, I just kind of gently got him to get up on a finger, use a little leaf, and just put him back on a little leaf, and he was like microscopic. But that small act kind of helped me retain the peace that I was cultivating. So I think it's just important to see that our small actions can add up, and it's not even necessarily what we do for ourselves, but also what we do for others, and how if we slow down, like it took me a couple 15 seconds to actually corral this little critter instead of doing my little shoo away. But it made a little difference to me, just helped a little, so that's my, if I was doing a class, that's kind
That
of
was
how I would
great.
do it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, okay. Heart chakra, I feel like I'm almost rebuilding it and it's becoming something different than what it used to be. I have some family stuff that's gone on, and so I think it's hard for me to forgive, because when you're hurt by the people who are closest to you, it can really affect you, and it has really affected me. But thinking about all this and reviewing it and thinking about how I want change in my life, and how looking at the balanced emotional expressions versus imbalanced, and trying to see where I can do. In my heart, I'm trying to affect like a softening towards some of my family, and just, I know that really those relationships won't ever be the same, but just opening my heart a little bit, that I will take a step in the future to kind of bridge kind of this chasm that's opened up the last few years. I don't know, we all go through cycles, and it just seems like stuff is changing. I feel the same thing about like maybe having difficulty with compassion and empathy. Like I think I do in some ways, but not in others. Yeah, I'm just always learning. Yeah.
Hannah, are you ready to go?
Yes, I need to unmute myself. Hi. Okay. So I'd like to start with a little poem. It goes like this. I can choose to keep my heart open. The time had come to open my heart to joy, to love, to the unknown, to sadness, to what was, to hope, to that will be, to now, to truth, to all of it. The end. I chose this little poem because I feel like when I did the homework, number one, and when I reflect on my heart, I reflected on my heart chakra, I feel like it's pretty balanced. Right now, I feel having a very unbalanced mulara. Mulara? Am I pronouncing it incorrectly? Mulara? Yeah. A navel chakra, like it took me to work on myself, to become a compassionate person, to cultivate empathy, and with myself especially. And so, it's been like self-work for the last 10 years. And I feel that being able to do that, it took me to this place where I am right now, where I feel like I consider myself like a compassionate person, empathetic, of service. And my only goal with that is like, no matter what the external circumstances are going forward. Like I can always keep my heart open, and in despite of what happens in the the external circumstances. So yeah, that's it.
Nice, thank you. Right. Hey, Ben.
That was a nice poem. A little theme for the season. In the heart chakra, as the leaves gracefully descend, painting a landscape in hues of gold and crimson. I invite you to embark on a journey of inner. This autumn, I want to dive into the heart chakra, the wellspring of love, compassion. So that was just a little thing I came up with. And my heart chakra is pretty cool because, you know, it's like in the middle. So like physically, from the top and the bottom, we kind of go like that to align ourselves straight. And it's through the center that the mechanism kind of goes in place, similar to like hinges and doors or things that kind of snap together, places, Legos or whatever. And I've come to understand not just giving energy or receiving energy, but the virtues that I use as opposed to my emotionals. It actually takes a lot more. When my energy centers are open, I have the capacity to receive a gobs more energy. It's like Monsters Inc. If you've seen that movie, where the laughter is magnitudes times more energy than the emotions with the screaming or whatever. And in addition to that, for me to receive that energy, I have to have a structure that can take it. So it is actually, they may say, oh, people walk around and are happy or I'm not caring the world, or I wish it could be them and things like that. But it actually takes just a lot more tension and work to maintain that kind of existence. It's actually, from a manipulative standpoint, it's easier to be down in the dumps all the time. It's easier physically. It may not look it because you look at somebody, it doesn't really matter the physical, but you see a lot of physical structures out there. And you're like, oh man, pain and all this and all this. But on an aspect of just energy, I have to maintain a structure that can contain that. And you know, doing this kind of work, body work, and just getting my structure able to withstand that kind of energy. It's pretty fascinating.
Nice, it's good.
Hi, everybody. So, I did the homework, but I didn't do the luminary. It's more thinking about it. But talking about the heart chakra, I think the first things that come to mind are compassion, empathy, love, almost the easier things. But what really struck me last week was grief. Personally, my stepdad's been battling stage 4 cancer for the last year, and going home for Thanksgiving here soon is kind of bringing up a whole bunch of thoughts that, like, even though I'm grateful he's with us, it's not the same. Times are different.
But what I'm trying to remind myself is that I'm grateful to be able to have these positive memories to look back on, that some people don't even get this experience to begin with. And that although grief is a part of love, there's still something beautiful to be said about it. And honestly, in a maybe twisted way, we're kind of fortunate to experience it to an extent. And that's kind of what I've been thinking about more so this week. So, kind of the other side of love. But with that, my mom's a really tough cookie to begin with, and I'm happy-go-lucky all the time, but she's one I'm really trying to give compassion to, especially in this time frame, as she's not showing her emotions and whatnot, and that's kind of how we were raised to just be tough and deal with it. But with all of this and with my own kind of personal development and growing, it's like I can still be there for her and show her love and compassion, and that it's not a weakness, but it's just a part of life almost. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. So I also got to set an insect free. It was a spider and it was living in my bed, my comforter, so I was scared. And especially because it was a big looking spider. So I grabbed a cup, grabbed my paper, didn't want to touch him because I just didn't know if he would bite me or if he was poisonous. Went to take him outside and he had disappeared. So he felt I don't know, but my experience with that, just this whole week, I was trying to be more aware of how I treat others, whether that is an insect or another person. I think that it's really easy to kind of just stumble through life, and it's me, I'm just trying to make it. And that affects my relationships too, just to the world around me and to insects. Like I don't really think about how my actions will affect others. So it'd be easy to maybe like step on these plants and like going off a path, or to flick a bug off me or accidentally step on something. So I think it's important to take your time and also slow down and notice how your actions affect the world. That's my little tiny theming. I don't know, I have a weird relationship with this chakra because my whole life people told me, oh, you're kind, you're compassionate, oh, you're so loving. And so I'm being fed that, but I've noticed that it's really easy for me to like not really think about others in my actions. So like maybe it's like at a table at work where it was messy when I got there. Maybe I left it a little messier. So this week I kind of focused on my little actions of, okay, this is not like this is going to be a table that somebody else is going to sit at. Let me just clean the whole thing up. Same with like at my grandparents, they always like try to get me to leave so that they can clean the dishes in the kitchen. And normally I'm just tired. I'm like, okay, we had a long day together. Let me go home. But this week I helped clean the kitchen with them. And it was nice. And I do feel love for a lot of people. Like is definitely a part of me that like I get emotional, and because I just love people so much. Like I just feel that really good warm feeling. But it's just sometimes it's more than just that feeling. It's about
what you can do for others as well. So it was kind of interesting to kind of journal my thoughts about that and how I was feeling and really take a moment to reflect on how I can better the people I love's lives or just anybody's life. I have the capability to do that. So there we go.
Good, I love it. How are you today? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna grab the quiet science,
Oh,
but I
okay,
can do that in a minute.
okay.
Hi, I'm doing good. Yeah, is there something you want me to share with me specific?
No,
Oh,
just want to make sure that you got a chance to be heard.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I loved hearing all of your check-ins about the heart chakra. The heart chakra is one of my favorites because it is that connection from more physical to spiritual aspects. And so just a nice turning point to the more woo-woo stuff that you kind of into. And some of you may not be, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for grabbing those. Yeah, I could pick apart little bits of what each of you're saying, right? This chakra was one that just kind of set me over the edge when I was learning about it, because I am not a touchy-feely, loving person. While I can be very compassionate and I want to help you and I will do things for you, I don't want to hug you. I don't, like, I will, and it's like I've learned to be comfortable with that. It's always been very uncomfortable. Like somebody would cry and I'd be like, I feel like I should do something, but I don't feel comfortable doing it, you know? And so like I've gotten a lot better with that kind of thing. And then, you know, I'm dealing with also a sick parent. My dad has just been diagnosed with cancer. Perhaps, I don't even know, because the man doesn't talk about anything. And so like, you know, trying to like, I would like to help you with something, and him just being like, what's that over there? And I'm just like, oh God. And showing him compassion and accepting him for where he is and who he is. It's this whole like weird dynamic, but it's like, for me, it's very representative of like what this chakra is all about, like holding those two things, like I love you and I want to help you, but also you don't want the help, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm mad at you. And I can be mad at him and frustrated with him and also love him, and still, it's a mess. It's a mess, but that's okay, you know. And so just kind of navigating this like weird space that I'm in is very much like heart chakra, along with, it's like, Janine laughed when I was like, I don't want to make any more decisions today, because Austin was like, where do you want your mentor group to be? And I was like, I don't care. Right, but like that's all part of it, right? Is like allowing others to be who they are, accepting who they are, still having your feelings be valid, and knowing that like, yeah, we're all on this whirling piece of rock in space together, having our own experiences, and they're all valid. It's interesting. So yeah, thank you for your shares and all of that, and keep on rocking. You're doing great. Yeah, that said, we are going to transition into the throat chakra, which and I'm sure Austin explained how the heart is kind of like the bridge from the more like really embodied animalistic types of chakras to the more spiritual, right? So like the heart chakra bridges both of those. It's very like embodied, very humanistic, but it's also very a spiritual chakra as well, right? And so now we start to make our way up into the throat. And like Sarah mentioned, like things will start to get more difficult to explain with words, because they become more experiential, right? And it's the thing where it's like, the more you try to put words to it, the further away from the concept you get. Does that make sense? Like, the more you try to conceptualize and put words to the thing, the further away you get from it, because it's really all about experience, okay? All right. So. How are we feeling about noise levels? Has it been okay? Yeah, okay. Good, good. Okay, so. Hannah, feel free at any point just to chime in with anything. You don't need to like raise your hand or anything like that. Okay, so throat chakra is Vishuddha. 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 Just hear it over there, like just randomly echoing all the way over there. Oh my gosh. Bear with me while I open up the manual because I did not open it. Vishuddha means purify or purification. And so this is, I'm going to explain this very, very briefly, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the other aspects and we'll kind of make our way back to it. But if you think about all of the lived experiences that you have, right? So all of the experiences that you have lived through, that you have had throughout your life, and the things that maybe you have inklings about, or things that you understand, this is where all of that gets purified, right? So we start to talk about wisdom when we talk about this chakra, okay? I'm just gonna leave that there for a moment because I don't want to try to get into it while there's all this class switching. So its element is ether. Ether is lighter than air. It's the thing that carries sound. The color here is blue. Location, of course, is the throat. Can also include like the thyroid, parathyroid, jaw, neck, mouth, all that good stuff. The bija sound is hum, not ham. I'll get my Northeast PA accent out at you. Hum. God, you see, I can't. When you chant this one's interesting because it's a very like aspirant H sound. So it's almost like the, and then the comes in. And so sometimes when you chant it, especially like the first couple times, it's very like crackly when the comes in, right? Its function is all about authentic self-expression, speaking truth, purification, faith, and understanding. Okay. What do you, when I say authentic self-expression, what does that mean to you?
I know. Your authentic self is your true self, the self that you are, not in big crowds of people. Feeling your inner power, that is your true self.
Thank you. It was very Janine. All right. I want to hear your version. What does that mean to you? Authentic.
My pure authentic what comes to mind is like pride, especially like for me, I'm a queer person. My two younger siblings are queer. My youngest sibling is non-binary. A great place to experience that, be open with it, and you know, I'll say it. Some people think it's dramatic, but it's like almost a spiritual experience, especially going to big prides, like going to Colorado Springs Pride or Denver Pride. It is so freeing to know that I don't have to be worried to say the phrase, I am pansexual.
Sure.
Because everybody in there is an ally or is also queer, is part of the LGBTQIA plus people, and the people who are there for the most part want you to be you.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if it's just that day, even if it's just that weekend, you have that space. And then with throat chakra, it makes me think like taking that space everywhere with you,
Oh, yeah.
just being in that space all the time. And of course, in a queer sense, sometimes you can't be, sometimes there are places you can't be rocking with it. For your own safety.
Sure.
But like being your true self as much as you can, provided you are safe, provided you are safe, provided everybody else is safe. Carry that sense of I belong here, people are supportive of me, people here love me in kind of like a, I don't know, I would say like an agape sense, like a universal love sense that we are part of this community. I love my community.
Yeah.
The person sitting next to me doesn't know my name, so they probably don't have genuine feelings of like me and my sisters love. Like they probably don't feel that, but they do. It's like this feeling of community and love within a community and protection within a community. And maybe you could just bottle that up inside your little throat chakra and carry it around forever. And just be that way.
I love that though, like that's, and you know, it is about being who you are, right? Like Janine said, when the eyes are off of you, right? Who you are truly. And I love that thought of like carrying it around with you right here, right? But it's not always easy to do, right? Especially this idea of speaking truth. When we talk about the throat chakra, there is a concept. Have you heard of the gates of speech? Okay. So speaking truth doesn't necessarily mean that you are just truth bombing everybody all the time, regardless of the situation, right? You filter your speech through these gates of speech. And what that means is before you speak, you ask yourself, is this true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Okay. And so while you may be able to speak a truth in a kind way, and it may very well be true, right? Is it necessary? Right? Like, is the person that you are going to speak to in a space of receiving what you're about to say? Is it going to damage some sort of relationship? And maybe that answer is I don't care, and that's okay. That's okay. That can be the answer. But in order to maintain kind of a level of equanimity and compassion, right? We bring the speech through those gates to make sure that we're not speaking out of turn or causing further harm to someone else or to yourself, right? Because you can kind of turn that in on yourself too, right? The thing that you're saying to yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Okay.
I think, if I can be, you know, pick the negative emotions, if I can be cruel or unkind to someone, most likely, I'm already doing that myself, but like 10, 20, 30 times as words.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing too is you may not have, you're only seeing one piece of the puzzle, right? You may not have all of the information. You may not have the understanding necessary to speak on it, right? And so that's where this throat chakra really comes into play with this idea of purification, is that it requires wisdom here. in order to speak on it, right? And wisdom requires two things. Wisdom requires knowledge and it requires understanding. So you can read all the books that you want on a subject, but unless you experience it and gain a true understanding of the concept and the practice, let's say, right, you don't have the wisdom around it. Okay. You may have thoughts and ideas and opinions around something that is happening with community, with another person, what have you. But you don't have those lived experiences, so you don't have the knowledge of what it is to be in that person's space, right? So that's where those gates of speech really come into play is, you know, when we're looking at speaking our truth or speaking truth outwardly, right? Are we looking at it from the lens of our ego and our own personal gain, or are we looking at it from the lens of, I have wisdom around this thing and I have opinions, right?
Can I bounce off of that?
Please do.
And so to further that, not only is this chakra about speaking up for yourself, but it's knowing when to not, which is equally as important, right? Because sometimes when you feel so emotional or ego driven or whatever, right? You're passionate about something and maybe you don't have that wisdom or lived experience, you're like ready to go. Like I'm that person, if I feel passionate, like I just like, all right, I have to say my thing. But through time and experience, you learn, okay, I feel this way. Now let's settle this with myself and know to not speak in this moment until things are settled with me. And that's also a part of the wisdom of the third chakra, which is important.
So is it kind of like taking out that passion a little bit too, or?
Yeah. So, oh God, here we go. Taking out the passion because we talked about in the third chakra, I know we talked about this, so I don't know that you'll remember, but we talked about the gunas and the quality of the particular chakra, right? So whereas passion kind of comes from here, right? Like it is the fire, it is the thing. Remember the gunas, we have tamas, which is, do you remember this word? It's okay if you don't, there's been a lot thrown at you.
It's the passive, the inertia.
Yeah. So like kind of slow, sludgy, ignorance, when we talk about it from a spiritual aspect, right? And then we have rajasic. And so rajas is
The action. It's
Yeah.
like fire.
yeah, like fire, action, passion, right? So like when we speak from passion, we're really speaking from here. Okay. Which is great. We need that in certain aspects, but when we're talking about truth, okay, when we're talking about real truth, not our opinion on something, not our lived experience and like the thing that we've experienced and now we're going to tell you about it, right? This is pure. This is sattvic, right? And so when we speak, when we're really balanced here and we're really, I think of this as like clear, right? Like when we're really clear and peaceful and sattvic with this, it's not causing harm. It doesn't come from a place of ego, and it's designed to serve the greater good. Okay, so I'm telling you a truth. Yes, technically from my perspective, but I'm not doing it to cause you harm, right? I'm doing it to hopefully help you better, whatever the situation is. Make sense? Where we get into trouble with this, I'm like weirdly shivery now. It's like I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm hot and I'm cold. Thanks. Where we get into trouble with this is that we're unable to kind of discern, right, is this true? And is this coming from a good place? We kind of get into trouble with like, let's say ethical means, right? So what happens, like people who speak from passion or people who speak with kind of like this higher mindset, right? We kind of see some of this like cultish behavior, right? Where it's like, I know the truth, follow me, right? If you want salvation, follow me. I'm the way, right? I know, I look at you because I know like we love cult documentaries. I'm fascinated by this stuff. But it's like this ability to, it says here, exert ethical choice, right? What does that mean? When you're able to exert ethical choice.
Able to facilitate a almost like a higher role of action. So you're able to facilitate that with oneself and others that's around. Sounds like.
Yeah. It's tricky, right? Whose ethics are we talking about? Yeah.
So that's why I was saying higher moral ground. Facilitate that as far as still get. And that's slow.
Did you have something? I saw a little squint.
It's almost, to your point too, whose ethics are they? You can have your own ethics, but I feel like if you're going to express them, you have to kind of be okay with people not getting on board or not with the intention of hurting others' feelings. Like, you can have your opinions, but not expect everyone to feel the same way with what your ethics might be when you're choosing to.
Yeah. You know, and I think you bring up a good point with intention, right? Like if your intention is to truly serve others, right? And comes from a place of compassion, but also comes from a place of understanding and wisdom. Right? Then that's probably more ethical than someone who's like hardcore believes in this thing and they're gonna like use their passion and their ego because it's fulfilling and I want you to follow me kind of thing. Does that make sense? I'm like fumbling with words today, but oh, hang on. No, go.
The words that you said, like what we're trying to do.
Oh, yeah. What is it? The ability to exert ethical choice.
Because we kind of piggybacked that on the cult.
Mm.
And I don't know if they're meant to be related, but I was almost leaning towards like it can be predatory. And it like in a cult like situation where I feel so passionate about it. And that's maybe how people develop cults is they find someone who's searching for that and someone who's overly confident, they can sell it. It doesn't necessarily from a good place.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, one of those words.
Yeah.
It's based on the cult. It's kind of like an inside joke or whatever. My boyfriend always says an all 21 because I always like find it fascinating too. And like, I don't watch it all the time, but I'm always like, look at them go.
Yeah.
They're making their own vegetables. Look at them cook. Like that's nice. And they're doing the sweeping. Nice. But I almost think what we're saying here is going back to that passionate speech. It's making sure it's not passionate speech. It's not coming from that battery abdomen.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you got to keep the fire where it belongs, right? When you start to push the fire out into places that it doesn't belong, that's where we get into trouble, for sure.
Purification aspect of the heart chakra or the throat chakra. I think purification, there's aspect of fire that automatically. Just seeing how that comes related to the throat chakra, and at the same time, related or differentiated. from
Yeah.
fires.
So fire, like when we're talking about an imbalance, right? So when we're talking about keep the fire where the fire needs to be, and don't let it come up into your throat, that would be an imbalance, right? So you've got too much of that ego driven kind of sense, right? And so it's like that fiery passion, and yeah, and you're not purifying that fire through the throat chakra, right? Make more sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like, I can be really passionate about it, right? I can be really passionate about the way that I feel about something. I can be really fiery about it. But as I bring that kind of sense up to my heart chakra, right, I start to drop the ego around it and understand that compassion comes in and empathy for others and their experiences. And rather than using that fiery passion to manipulate and, like I can then purify that and purify my speech so that it comes in a way that's really truly designed to help. Okay.
And you can have purifying as filtering
Mhm.
your speech. If purifying is like a word you're hanging up on, just another way to think about it.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. So the way that we know if we're being sattvic or rajasic or tamasic is the result, right? So it's like if I'm speaking my truth and the person actually like, wow, like I'm actually helping them, that's when I know, then it's becoming like it's a conflict now, the way, like I'm speaking my truth, but it's causing problems. Is that how, like in a humanistic way, that's how that's how you can measure it?
I think the measurement comes from your reaction, not others' reaction. Right? You can only control your response to things. You can't control the way anybody else perceives or receives the information that you're giving. So let's just say that it's like feedback, right? So maybe you're teaching a class and I don't like a particular way that you've said something, right? I can give you feedback in a way that would be true and maybe necessary. Like we're gonna say necessary just for the sake of the conversation. But I don't say it in a kind way because I'm frustrated. Like, how could you even say something like that? Right? Like, so I can say it in a way that's not kind. And of course, it wouldn't be received well, right? And then my reaction could very well be like, well, what do you mean you don't agree with me? Like, I'm right. I know more than you. You know what I mean? Or I could look at it from a more calm and peaceful stance, like I want to help you. And the thing that you just said can perhaps, you start the conversation off with, are you open to feedback? Right? And if the person says yes, then you like, hey, there was something that you said that kind of set me on edge a little bit, and I just would like to talk about it and ways that you might be able to say it differently, right? Versus coming out of the class and being like, I can't believe you said that thing that you said. You know what I mean? And so then you present it in a way that hopefully is received well by the other person, but I can't control what your response is. So you can still get really upset by it. But my reaction to you being upset is what's going to gauge this, right? Does that help make a little more sense? Okay. Chilly. Good. Okay. So, oh, that was huge. Okay. The other thing with this is, so we mentioned the element being ether, right? And ether carries sound. Have you heard the phrase that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth? Okay. So maybe we should listen more than we speak. Okay. But it's true, like a big thing with this is listening, right? Gathering information. We're not living in another person's body. We don't have the same experiences as the other person. So when someone is speaking, really truly listening. We talked about this on the first day. What is it to really truly listen? What does that mean? For Ashley.
I think it's like hearing what they mean, not what they say.
Mm,
A little bit, like truly listening to what they're saying, like listening with intent
mhm.
to understand, but also hearing like. I think of like metaphors. Understanding what their metaphor means to them specifically, not what it means to you, not what it means, like trying your best. Even if you don't think you could ever fully understand their truth,
Mhm.
trying your best to. Like I could probably never fully understand somebody who speaks German's truth because I don't speak German. But I can really, 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 really try. Like to understand what they mean
Mhm.
while intently listening to what they say.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. It does.
I was gonna ask if that's right, but.
There's no right or wrong. This is your interpretation.
I feel like a big part of truly listening to someone is like the common thing where you're like, are you talking to me for like a solution or are you talking to me to vent? And it's like the willingness and the understanding that you're listening to understand what they want without kind of trying to figure out how you're going to respond. So like, I think when you're actively listening, you're listening, you're not thinking about like, how do I respond to this? Or what do I think of what they're saying? Like, while they're talking to you,
Yeah.
I think that becomes the reaction to active listening.
Mhm.
But when you're actively listening, it's not a simultaneous thing.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you have to establish that before you can truly hear what people are saying, like in between the lines. Do you know what I mean? Like if you are listening to someone, but in your head, you're like, oh, I know what you need to do. I know how you need to fix this. And then you just blah. There's no other way to say it. You just blah. And like, I'm gonna solve your problem.
Yeah.
Mhm. And this is it's actually funny, like when my daughter was a teenager and she likes to vent, she still does to this day, loves to vent. But I had to teach my husband, it's like, she doesn't want you to fix it. She just wants you to listen to it. Please just listen to it because all you're gonna do, there's gonna be doors slamming. Please just listen to it. Like, so yeah, we talked about like, do you need me to fix this or do you just need me to listen?
That sucks, or this is how you feel.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
ask that too, like I have certain friends in my life who will start and I go, okay, 1 second. Are you telling me this because you want to be heard or do you want like to brain shoot out solutions? 9 out of 10 times, I just want to be heard, but at least then I go into the conversation knowing that and then listening with empathy rather than listening with a solution. Because then you're really, really listening.
Mhm. Yeah, and funny little thing too that my husband uses at work too, which thank God, because he can be really harsh. Blunt, we'll say blunt. He'll be like, do you want the truth or do you want me to be nice to you? Do you want me to make you feel good or do you want the truth?
Usually before we came here, my husband, he said, I'm a Marine. Marines never lie, never cheat, never this. And it just keeps coming in, but it was the same exact conversation. You have great integrity, people know what you're talking about. However, there's a little bit of tact that is, I think, even more useful in situations than just.
Yeah, yeah, my husband's not a Marine, but good Lord, might as well have been. Mhm.
It's just regarding meditation and and the skill that it takes to calm
Mhm.
the mind.
Mhm.
'Cause it almost sounds like active listening is something related to that. So if I can, while I'm by myself, calm my mind of the, because I just want to attach to every little thought that I'm thinking and do something around it, as opposed to just let the thoughts go and me just being there so I can just actually see them. It almost sounds like that's a part of active listening, so I can do that when others are speaking. I can calm myself and be able to actually see the whole of what they're saying and how they're having.
Yes, meditation is good practice for that, to be able to actively listen. Yes, absolutely. There is actually a concept of meditation where it's a type of meditation called nada yoga, nada like nada, none. But it's really about calming the mind and settling the mind and letting go of the thoughts so that you can start to progressively get deeper and deeper and deeper into more subtle sounds until you are able to hear your own internal sound. And I'm not talking like heartbeat or the blood moving through your blood vessels. It's like beyond that. It's your own if you will. Okay. The other kind of facet with this is this like divine understanding or your universal understanding. You have a strong understanding of how the world works, right? You understand that there's atoms and molecules and parts that you cannot possibly see with your eyes. And this understanding that there is something beyond just this meat suit, right? Beyond the chair that I'm sitting in, okay? And you're starting to develop this understanding of like divine law and the way that things work and interact with each other. And yes, we're getting into like nerdy quantum type stuff. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quantum was one of my favorite classes.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, I digress.
But yeah, but it's like, I always kind of use my chickens as an example of this, right? Like there are things out there that we can't perceive with our five senses, right? We can't see atoms and molecules, yet the Buddhists believe that, things, people, animals, plants are constantly blipping in and out of consciousness, right? Like we're constantly in and out, but it's happening so fast that you can't see. We're constantly regenerating cells and like old cells are dying off. And there's this whole like world and universe beyond what we can see and what we can touch, right? And as you start to understand this, you start to understand that we're all a part of it, right? And you start to see each other as connected, as equals, right? And understand that there's something greater. I use my chickens as an example because chickens actually see ultraviolet light. And so it's, when you have a rooster, and you're like, the sun's not up yet. Why are you crowing? It's because that rooster can see the ultraviolet light of the sunrise like an hour before the sunrise actually happens. And so it's like we have all of these things that can measure things that we can't see, yet we kind of close ourselves down to the possibility of anything else existing outside of this realm, right? And so it's, as we start to kind of really like talk about the woo, right? Embrace the woo. Like understand that it's not just woo, right? The yogis, Buddhists, like all of these ancient religions and things like that, understood that there are things that we don't know about, that we can't see, touch, taste, smell, right? But who's to say that they don't exist? And so the kind of like understanding from these more spiritual chakras, we talk about wisdom, right? Have you ever just had, after a yoga class, like a particularly profound experience, right? Let's say your breath is on point, you're moving, you're balanced, your mind is focused, and you lay down in Shavasana and like you have a moment of clarity, right? After all is said and done. And maybe you come out of it with a new perspective, right? Maybe there was like a problem that you were trying to solve, or, you know, a relationship that you were trying to heal, or what have you. And just that moment of clarity or an answer comes to you, and you don't know where that answer came from, right? You just like kind of reached out and grabbed it out of the ethers. But this is what we're really talking about when we talk about like these ideas and understanding coming from these upper chakras, combining with our lived experience. We have this moment of purification, and then you can say to someone, I saw a ghost, right? You know what I mean? I don't know. Just bringing some levity to it. Because it's, I don't know, being human is kind of absurd. Kind of is. We're really good at creating lots of problems for ourselves. We're really good at that. But then we're not so good at fixing those problems. Oh, goodness, friends.
Or just letting it go.
Yeah. Just let it go. Just do this.
You got chicken?
I got chickens. Yeah, it's not glamorous. I was actually cleaning the coop before I came here. I was like, oh, I smell like chickens now.
One, I really love chickens. I tried to convince my parents to let me get chickens on their property for years. Second, I don't know how much this pertains to this conversation, but you said chickens see in ultraviolet light. And I remembered that mantis shrimp can see from like ultraviolet to past where we can see on the light spectrum. So they see like insane colors and insane everything. So when you were like, it's seeing what's beyond you, I was like a little mantis shrimp.
You really do hold a lot of facts. I love it.
I really like shrimp. Have you seen the video of a little shrimp and he's got giant antennas and he's dancing?
No. I have not.
You like
Oh my gosh. All right. We've gone down the shrimp hole. No, you're good. You're totally good. Okay, so talk to me about your throat chakra. How do you feel? Do you feel like this is a place where you might have some things, or do you feel fairly balanced? What's going on?
I know my. I talk too much about not important things and I talk too little. And I flip between them.
That's okay.
I also feel like being East Coast to an extent, doesn't help in this regard. And, it's something that I think I've been more aware of within my family dynamic all the time, but it's just interesting looking at it through this light of sometimes how we just communicate with each other, and very blunt, very direct feelings are honestly kind of the hardest part of all of this, trying to figure out what those even are and where they are and what that means, because it's always just been toughen up kind of thing. But yeah, no, I'm finding it interesting and definitely will need to work on this one.
Rachel and I come from a very similar background. So the East Coast thing is hilarious because I think everyone on the East Coast, if you ask them like, I mean, first off, they would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you ask them how they're talking about, but besides that, I think they would think that like, oh, I tell it like it is, like I'm like they think they have it, but it's like a overflowing, like an oversaturation of the throat chakra, which is hilarious because I feel that this is my favorite chakra, probably because of all of that. But I also feel like it's my best chakra and like is something that I value about myself. But I do like lean sometimes way too into the like cup overflowing East Coast mentality of like the brutal honesty, which is like something I feel like I've very recently tackled. And I think like that's where the are you being kind and honest and is it necessary really comes in, because like if you feel like you're being brutally honest, then you probably are not being kind and necessary and truthful. Like if you're leading with brutal, then it's probably not kind. So I think for me, I don't know, I just feel so strongly about this chakra, and like while I may not always be balanced, I'm also like very cognizant of when I'm overflowing it, when I lean more into the brutal honesty rather than like the true honesty. So yeah, that's my favorite, but the East Coast thing, the major ingredient.
Yeah. I just wanna say I'm also from the East Coast, I can attest to that. And I thought that like the way you show love is through brutal honesty. It's like, I love you, so I'm gonna tell you exactly what I think in this moment. And that's, it wasn't until I like moved away from the East Coast and realized like people are sensitive and like you have to filter what you're saying. But yeah, so I could attest to the East Coast mentality.
There's a reason why I don't answer the emails here at the studio.
My dad is actually from the East Coast, like teeny tiny town in Connecticut, East Coast. And he was raised by his dad and his grandma. And my grandpa is very much the same, where he's like, I said happy birthday and he said, thanks, kid. And that was where the conversation ended. He does not mince words. He does not, less so with the grandkids, me and my sisters and my sibling. But like my dad was kind of the same way when we were way, way younger, where it was kind of like, you have a hole in your jeans, go change. What he meant was, it's cold outside, you have a hole in your jeans, you're going to get cold, go put on jeans without holes in them so you are not cold. What he said was, your holes have a jean, your jeans have a hole. You look, what did he used to call us? You look like a whirling dervish.
Oh my God.
Go change. And as we got older, he kind of, and my dad's also in the military, so very much the same, or he's a Marine, so Marines don't.
Lie, cheat, or steal.
No lying, no cheating, no stealing, and if I have something to say, I'm gonna get it out there, because I don't have time for your feelings. But I am very much a feelings person. I cry over everything, I cry when I'm happy, when I'm mad, when I'm sad, all of it. So he very quickly, when we were growing up, I saw that shift of. Like, it used to be like watching, like when the cartoon characters go all red and they're like steaming. And they like, you watch it fade from their face and they're like, thanks so much. So like watching that growing up, I feel like. And hearing everybody here talk about it, I'm like, wow.
It's not just me.
That's such a cool way to think about it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
I want to share the opposite experience.
Yes.
I am a people pleaser, which means it's been a lot harder to share my authentic self. So when you said that this is your authentic, like this is where you share your authentic self or where you show your authentic self, I've been working on it, but it's very hard for me to speak my truth. It's almost the opposite of like, oh, you want to hear this, so I'm gonna say this. So it's kind of the opposite, but I'm a good listener, I would say. I typically, I have the talk less, listen more, a little bit more down. but it's definitely, I think the honesty, being honest with myself is where I need to work on that. And that might be because I'm not from the East Coast. I'm from the West Coast, so, completely different area.
Yeah.
Wanna, piggyback off Alexis, it's kind of like that too. I think I deal with like generational kind of cyclic kind of dysfunction or just function. How it is, because it's like the only way I see this is from my adult child, where she is kind of like she just like kind of doesn't know how to have fun. And I say that in a loving sense, but it was from my example. And I understand part of that, which relates to the root chakra, that, my success somehow I think is someone else, if I'm doing good, somehow somebody else is doing bad, where I would really lose to win. Because for me, it was always easier. Because, I guess I could say I don't care. But it was like that when I was young, hanging out with my friends and we'd just be doing whatever stuff. But I remember in a cipher where friends are listening to music, rapping, and it goes around. And when it gets to me, I'm like, I want to say nothing. Because that's what it is. You just say whatever is on your mind. Say nothing because I was scared, of just putting myself out there. But it was from a sense that somehow if I was to brag or if I was to be like, hey, I'm this and that, there's a part of me that has some kind of weird compassion to somebody that is not like that. So I couldn't just be the person just walking around on everything. Yeah, so kind of understand where Alexis.
Yeah.
And I was born West Coast.
I'm seeing a connection.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it was a lot like you though. Like, it took me a long time, like the thought of even speaking to people about things that I've learned or experienced was like, I don't want you to know anything about me. Because it's like being seen and truly being vulnerable and seen in that vulnerability is like really difficult. And Karen, you were talking about letting people care for you this week, right? From like, I won't tell you I'm hurt because I don't want you to take care of me. Because that means you can see all of my weaknesses and I'm not weak. I am not weak. You cannot get in the cracks, right? So like for me, talking about like theming yoga classes and things like that for the longest time, my themes would be very generic and very like, this is what we're gonna do today, right? And there was nothing behind it because I could not, like, I don't want you to, I will not cry in front of you. I will not, and that's not good either, right? Like I am genuinely a caring and kind and compassionate person, and I want to be your cheerleader, but I'm not gonna cheer. You know what I mean? Like it's this weird, like understanding who you are and being okay with presenting that out into the world, right? And if you're not used to doing it, it is a weird feeling. It is an awkward feeling to be like, I'm talking. you're listening to me. Oh God, what's going on? It's strange, you know, and I don't know. You fake it till you make it. Both of you put your hand up at the same time. So I'm gonna let you rock, paper, scissors.
So.
Sensing some throat chakra stuff going on here.
So I am from the Midwest, and I am very much, I used to be very quiet. I can talk a lot if I am like super confident in a subject. This is not it at the moment, but I'll get there. But I work in a predominantly male military environment, and I am becoming a little bit more like your husband, where I'm like, leave your feelings at home. You know, we have a job to do. This is a business transaction. We gotta get shit done. So, you know, and I do have the same, because of the position I'm in, people come to me with their problems, and you should come to me with your problem and a solution. And do you want me to solve it, or do you want to solve it? Because I can do it, but I want to give you an opportunity. So I always start those conversations the same way, like, what is my role in this conversation? So that I know, like, to go kick somebody's ass, or to just like say, you got this, go, you know, be nice, whatever, and kind of send them on their way. But it took a long time to get to that point where I mean, I have to stand up to some pretty big assholes, and I do it, but I always have that feeling afterwards, like, maybe you could have handled that a little bit different or whatever, but I feel like I have, you know, I do it in a kind way, in a professional way, but you do have to get to the bottom line, like, you know, and I had to do it yesterday, but, it's not like, I think I need to work on like my delivery maybe a little bit, so, but it will come to you.
That's good to know.
Over time.
It's already getting better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking to you guys, so that is.
Yes. Step. It is a skill. It's kind of, yeah.
I think I mentioned it to maybe a couple people, my experience with this. It was, I think the first time learning about the chakras was through a holistic therapist, and she would ask me where I'm feeling something. I'd come into her stressed or strained, and it would be my throat. It was constricted, it was tight. And I was in a relationship that we should have just stayed friends, and I kind of knew it, but I had a hard time communicating that with him. And then I just think about that because it's just interesting how the chakras, they can just relate, like with everything I read about balance and balance, I can relate to it and understand where it's stemming from a bit. And I've been clenching, I have trouble clenching my teeth, not only at night, but sometimes through the day, all day. Being in healthcare is stressful. And I've been clenching my teeth all day today too. And I can't quite figure out why. I did an observation today with Rebecca, and she's intimidatingly good. She's been a teacher for a while, and she's got it down. Like, it was great to watch what she can do and how she can modify. But I don't know if that's where it started, but I can't stop even. I'm comfortable here. And I've had to like wear my mouth guard at home sometimes and feel like a kid with big mouth gear, because I just realized like I'm gonna give myself a headache from just existing. But
Yeah, same.
yeah.
Yeah, I can clench my jaw while I'm talking.
Impressive.
My gosh,
Yeah.
I've shattered a
True.
tooth from that.
I
Yeah.
don't want to. I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't know, this chakra is one that, you know, like I said, you can be fairly balanced. You can have a good amount, the right amount for you of prana here. You know, so as you go out into your week, think about your interactions. Think about how often you stop and listen to another person, especially if it's a person saying something that you don't agree with, right? Which is usually the hardest one, because you're like putting all the arguments together in your head, right? think about how often you speak clearly and you can articulate something that you are thinking about or trying to convey to another person. Think about your intention around the thing that you're saying and pay attention to those little whispers of things that the universe is trying to tell you. Okay, because all of this ties in. All of it ties into this little bottleneck of a space with all of your chakras. Okay, you're getting messages from the universe, from God, from whatever it is that you name it all the time. But we're so wrapped up in our own thoughts, our own experiences, our own bubble that we can't see beyond that. And so I encourage you to get quiet, especially if you're someone who is a talker or you talk for your work or what have you. I will tell you one of the things, like when I leave here after being with this many of you, listening to this many stories, I love it. Please don't take this the wrong way. This is my truth. But I have to like have quiet until, you know, a certain time because I have to like reset. Right. You know, after I teach a yoga class, I have to reset. I have to have quiet, which is difficult because my husband comes to my class on Mondays and it's like, he is not a quiet person. And I'm just like, shh. He's like, are you okay? You're in a bad mood. I'm like, I'm fine. There was a lot of output just now. I just need quiet. So he's learned to just put a little bit of quiet music on and just let me be. But also know when you are full, right? You are physically, emotionally, spiritually full, what your reactions tend to be. And just notice these things as you go through the week, along with your homework, along with the homework. So let's talk about some things that you can do to help maybe find some balance here. So asanas, we have camel pose. Who likes camel pose here? Yeah. Who is like, please don't ever make me do camel pose? Yeah. Yeah. It's vulnerable, right? You are open, you are blasting that throat chakra out into the ethers, and it is a vulnerable place to be. I will tell you that from a physiological standpoint, if you are doing it safely, nothing is happening to you. You're okay. But there have been times in camel where I'm like, lights are going out. I'm gonna go down. Here we go. Just wrap me up in a blanket and take me out of here because it's like such a vulnerable way to be, right? And so what I can tell you with that is just sit with it for a minute if that comes up for you. And if you really like it and you're like, I could be here all day, think about why. Why is it that you feel like you can be that? And I'm not saying one is good and one is not good. Like, that's not what I'm saying. This is all about just noticing things. Bridge, shoulder stand, and plow. Those two things we'll talk about when we get into extra postures. But they can be really compressive on your neck. So do be careful with them. If you like, go Google what they are and get yourself into them. Try not to hurt yourself. Pranayama, Ujjayi breath is really good, particularly like we talked about when we did pranayama the other day, that gentle constriction, not like forceful constriction, or lion's breath. Have you ever done lion's breath? Yeah, you breathe, you kind of sit on your shins, hands on your knees, take a big breath in, lift your chest, and then as you exhale, you come forward forcefully, stick your tongue out, which I can't do, by the way. So it's like incredibly painful. Yeah, I'm severely tongue-tied. So like the webbing gets like jammed between my teeth and it hurts real bad. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. I've lived like this for 47 years. It's fine. but you also cross your eyes and look up at your third eye and roar. So if you're someone that like is very like, I could see the fear, yes. So if you're someone that's like, I don't want to be seen, like do some lion's breath. That'll power you up a little bit. It's like the Mario power-ups.
About the crossing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. You'll understand next week when we get there, why everything has to do with the third eye. In addition, we've got mantra. So chanting is really, really good for this chakra. Jalandhar Bandha. I don't know how far you've gotten into the history of yoga with all the bandhas and stuff like that, but energy lock. So it is a drawing back of the chin and down. You can do it to a more extreme where I'm going to show you my throat here. So I would breathe out. And then when you get to the bottom of your exhale, it's almost like you're trying to suck a smoothie through a straw, but the chunk of strawberry gets stuck at the bottom of the straw, right? I'm a visual person, so these things make sense to me. So you breathe out, hold the breath out. And then you lift the chin and breathe in steadily. So as you like try to draw the air in, it kind of pulls that energy into the pit of your throat. Yeah. You can neti pot. Have you ever done a neti pot? Not as an adult. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The trick is to get the salt water the right pH and the right temperature. So when it's done properly, you shouldn't feel anything. Like it just feels like you got some water up your nose when you're swimming, but it shouldn't burn like when you get the chlorine pool water in your nose.
Oh, I like packets.
What's that?
Packets.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, this is thing too, like, I want.
Jesus.
No, it was good.
And the other trick with it too is getting your head at the right angle. So if you don't have your head like parallel to the ground and your nostril tipped, because a lot of times the tendency is to lift your head, right? And then it comes out of your mouth and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And then you'll be in down dog and water just pours out of your nose and down dog. It's fun. It's fun. Ear candling. I'm getting nervous just thinking about it. Oh God. Ear candling is my neti pot for those of you that are like, no neti pot. I can't. We did it one time. My husband had to literally hold me down because I was laugh crying because I could not handle the sensation and the sound. It was terrible.
Did it work? But did it?
I don't know. I don't care. I don't ever want to try it again.
I know traumatic experience, but.
So the idea.
The first thing that I was like, what is that?
So here's the thing. There's debate on whether it works or if it's like that placebo effect, right? So the idea is it's a candle tapered. It's like wax dipped ribbon, essentially, like cotton. And you lay down and stick it in your ear, light it. And I mean, as the candle burns down, it's supposed to pull like the earwax and yuck out of your ear. I don't.
Earwax comes out.
Sure, we'll go with that. I'm sweating. I can't even handle eardrops. Like I don't even like eardrops in my ears. I don't.
It's like a tube. Can you do like then you
Yeah, no. It's a. God. Yeah, you can do it yourself, but
I'm also scared that they're going to send something better.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it. I don't know if it works. Okay, you can go try that and report back, but. Okay, so in addition, right, so we've got your homework, which is record your initial feelings, experiences, your journal prompts, all that good stuff. You can try neti pot, practice silence, sing in your car. Hope don't go yelling at people in your car. Or hum. And then do your little self-test. Of course, you can always chant, do the chant for it. We're going to do that here in just a moment. With this chant, we're going to take Padma Mudra. So it's like Anjali Mudra. Go. Here comes the heartburn. Anjali Mudra, but the middle 3 fingers on each hand open up. The pinkies and the edges of the thumb touch. So this is Lotus Mudra or Padma Mudra. And so you're opening yourself up to receiving energy. And then you take your thumbs and you press your thumbs at your throat chakra. Okay. And so we'll do hum 3 times. Okay. So you can close your eyes or let your gaze soften. Are we good? Erin pushed her thumbs too hard. Okay, we're not trying to like, no, just lightly touch. Oh my goodness. It is that time of night. Okay. Get the sillies out. Take a big breath in. Let it go. One more time. Big breath in. Let it out. So prepare. Inhale. We just lost the gear. It's okay. This is what happens when I chant Vam. So you are fine. You are fine. I can't get through Vam without laughing. Okay, shall we try again? Okay.
So the H is like.
Yeah, the H is like
It's like
that.
sigh.
Mhm.
Okay.
We'll get there. We're just gonna try one more time. Just one more. Good Lord. Oh, you know, this is your authentic self-expression. We're fine. Breathe in. Let it go. Exhale. Breathe in to prepare. Yeah. You're all killing me. I'm just sensing, friends, they're still in class, but I'm just sensing like the stifling of laughter going all throughout the room. So you know what you gotta do. You can do it at home. It's all good. Okay. Oh, goodness. Oh, I needed that. Thank you. Levity is good. Levity is good. Oh, all right. Before we completely fall apart, let's do the word, okay? Oh, okay. All right, we're gonna go this way this time.
Oh, happy.
Happy.
Laughter.
Ears.
Choke.
Joy. Fun.
Did you say tears? Can't remember the tears.
Ham.
Pork.
Gratitude.
Goodness, Hannah.
Lighthearted, hearted.
Silly, silly. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much. Such a treat. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Good work. Giggles and all. Giggles are good. All right, friends. Have a great night. Feel better.
Thank you. Bye.